everyone. Welcome to Monday Live with Alan and Greg and our guest, Aaron Facer. Say hello. And in
Hello.
the chat room,
One.
we have Mark with Book Time from Elvis. And it's really funny, Mark.
Hey,
I
Mark.
was just I was just speaking about you before we went live. I said that I'm going to steal a little bit from your live shows and have everyone sort of kick off with what they've been reading recently. So, Aaron, as the guest,
Huh?
what have you been finished reading recently, and what are you currently reading?
So March was a unusually, I don't know, I got quite a lot finished pretty quickly in March. I'm normally quite a slow reader. So I read tons of stuff for the BookTube prize. So I think I read 5 out of 6 of them in March.
Oh, wow.
So that took up a fair bit of my reading time. But I was pretty determined to kind of read what I wanted to read as well. So Classics and Company were reading The Book of Disquiet by Pessoa. And it was I thought I'd give it another go. It was my second time reading it. And I finished this, I don't know, maybe like Saturday, something like that. Yeah, I'm still not 100% sure what I think about The Book of Disquiet, but yeah, that there are entertaining bits, there are interesting bits, and then every now and then it gets a bit repetitive for me. But it was still a fun experience, and it's a fun one to come back to after quite a long period of time, because I don't know, the things that you remember, things that you don't remember, and things that you get mixed up that you kind of straighten out. So that was quite fun. What else have I been reading? I think in terms of stuff I've finished, that's probably the most recent one. For March of the Mammoths, I'm reading Proust. I've been reading Remembrance of Things Past for
Wow.
nearly a year now. I think I've been going really, really slowly.
What volume are you up to?
But
What
I'm
volume
on
improved?
volume 3.
Okay.
Is that the Gourmand's Way, which is like I don't know, like at least a third of it is just dinner parties and in salons and people just talking and talking.
I've read the first book, so I kind of remember that.
It's kind of, there are things I much prefer earlier on. I think the kind of atmosphere of it and stuff like that are much more interesting, and I don't know, what's going on in the lives of the people he's kind of observing or hearing about is a bit more interesting. Whereas with where I am now, the actual narrator is more of a character, and he's kind of coming of age and entering society, and so it's kind of interesting in a different way, but it doesn't feel quite as active to me, and it wasn't really that active to begin with. So
Yeah. Proust is, as I remember, I've read the first volume twice, and then about a third of the second volume, and you can just get lost in his descriptions and his sentences, and it's just like this whole labyrinth of detail and information. And when you're reading them, you just have to go with that flow. That it's just an experience to read Proust. And
I think it's hard to like work out how much to read at once as well, because part of me I want to read like very short sections so that I can concentrate a little better, and but then I don't want to leave it in a place where when I open the book I'll have no idea what's going on. So
I understand. I mean, I do eventually want to get back to reading all of it one day. I just have to set aside a year, or maybe 2 years.
Wow. I've never read those.
You said you were were you doing the fiction or nonfiction for the BookTube prize?
I was doing fiction. I originally signed up to do the translated fiction, and then I think with how it went last year, and they were struggling to get enough judges. And so and so I signed up to the just normal English language fiction when they got rid of that division. And I don't know, maybe I should have gone with nonfiction. I don't know. There's something, at least with contemporary fiction, it seems like I tend to get on with a better proportion of translated stuff rather than English language stuff for some reason. I don't know why.
I understand it. I sometimes struggle with a lot of contemporary fiction. I just don't gel with it. I know I did nonfiction this round. Yeah. I've also signed up for fiction, so I don't know if I'm going to get. I kind of guess I'm going to get fiction next round.
Yeah.
But when I did the fiction last year, there were only 2 out of the 6 books that I really thought were worth anything. And even the ones that I thought were good were not super great.
Yeah.
Yeah. What you're saying is like did not blow me out of the water. But that's probably true with most contemporary. You're gonna have to wade through the averageness that you get. And one quick second, I want to say hello to Mex Libris. Say hello to Sonia Devaney. Hello, Sonia.
Hey,
MJ.
Sonia.
Hello, MJ.
MJ.
Anyone judging the first round of Book 2 prize or predictions? We have been talking about. I actually have a prediction. I wrote it down. The book that I think is going to win the fiction prize, in a sealed envelope. But I'm not going to say what I think it is. I don't want to judge. I don't want to prejudge anything. But I think I know what's going to win.
Yeah, I know. Last year when I did the translated fiction, the way my round went, essentially all of my favorite books were at the bottom and my least favorite books were at the top. So it was like a total mirror image to how I got on with them. So I could maybe do a kind of negative prediction based on how much I like the books I read. But
yeah, I had that one with I read a book translated from the Korean, which I just did not get along with that book at all. Mostly because it was just for a completely demographic. For me, but you get that with the Book 2 prize.
Yeah.
Hello. I'm not going to be able to pronounce this name right. It's clean. Hello, Kiri. I don't want to say your name because it sets off my device most of the times. Hey, Bad.
Hey, Bad.
Hello, Bad. Yeah.
It's early. Yeah. Yeah, to set my alarm. No, I've been up since like 5 a.m.
Bad.
Well, you guys know me. I never sleep.
Reading Proust in French should be a motivation to learn French. I think he's complicated French. I think he's like graduate level French.
It's hard enough in English.
Yeah. Bad. I'm going to start the book Geek Love. I absolutely the front beautiful abstract. Yeah. It's a weird book, Bad. I really like it. Criminale didn't like it, but I really like it.
I have a question for Aaron. Where is Swansea, Wales? And do you live by Swansea?
So Swansea, I don't know exactly how it's on the. So I'm about, give or take about 15 miles away from Cardiff, which is the capital. It's down on the south coast, like southeast. I have a feeling Swansea is about 50 miles further along the coast going west.
Oh,
so it's I'm still in the same kind of rough area. I'm still in southeast Wales, but yeah, I've been to Swansea. Yeah, I've been to Swansea a couple of times, but not really sort of spent much time there. I think there's like a museum or something there, like a Dylan Thomas Centre.
Oh yeah, great.
I think when I was sorry, go ahead.
No, I'd love to visit there. I'm interrupting. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I think I've been to I was only a kid when we went. I think I've been to Larne, the place where he had the boat hut where he did loads of his writing. He'd get out and get somewhere quiet. I think there was like a Dylan Thomas kind of walking trail. So I think I've been there, but I was only a kid when we visited, so I might be misremembering.
Do you like Dylan Thomas?
I do. I haven't read a lot. Yeah, I really like Under Milkwood. That's sort of one of those things that it's one of those pieces of literature I go to kind of relax and, just change gear.
Right. That was his radio play.
And then, I don't know, for a long while, I didn't like his poetry all that much. Whereas now I'm coming around a bit and kind of enjoying it a bit more. But for a while, it was like the broadcasts that he did and his short stories and things like that.
Doesn't he have a short story or novel called Portrait of the Artist as a Young Dog?
Yeah,
I think he does.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love villanelles. So Do Not Go Gently is a villanelle. I think he's got a few others. I really like the what's it? The force that drives the green fuse, drives the flower, drives my green age. And I am dumb to tell the crooked worm how at the same. I'm messing it up, but
No.
I used to know it by heart.
Yeah, I'm really bad at remembering. Well, just remembering, really.
Just wait till you're a couple decades older.
Yeah. No, I wish I could memorize poems, but I just can't really.
Mix. Oh, true. The sealed envelope. We shall see. Oh, Bad loves your library, Aaron.
Oh, thank you.
I have the same book. That's the same IKEA bookshelf that I have. But I have it pushed up against the wall, so I can't put books on both sides. But I'm very tempted to pull it out.
Yeah, it works quite well in this room because it's not a very big house, and so it's a relatively long room, this one. So it means we can kind of turn it into 2 rooms. So where I am is like more of a dining area, and then that's like more like a lounge kind of area, I guess. So it's multi-purpose.
It is. The thing is, if you've seen my whole basement, my basement is just huge.
Yeah.
I mean, I could put that in and try to cordon off your nook here, but these are the different color shelves than what they have for that one.
Okay,
so I have it it looks kind of weird, so I have it in a different room.
Yeah.
All right, Bad Greek love. No, it's geek love.
Greek love.
I actually
that's another genre.
It is, but I remember when Geek Love came out in hardcover. When I first pulled out the cover, I said Greek Love, and then I had to I misread it the same way. Bad is going for a cup of coffee. Yep.
Greek love. No.
Hey, Groovy Pop Tarts here.
joke,
Hello, Groovy.
Pop Tart. Geek love. Yes. There you go.
Sean D. Steadfast. Hello, Sean.
Hey, Sean.
And Jason.
Everyone's saying hello.
I've been to Cardiff a while back on a walking tour of Wales.
Oh, wow.
Saying
Wish
hi,
I could say
Sean.
that. I've been to Ireland, but it's the only country in Europe I've been to. Long to go back, I'll tell you that. I want to immigrate to Ireland someday.
I'm putting through the comments of people saying hi to each other. I'm not really commenting on people saying hi to each other.
Greg reads the comments because I can't see them unless I go like that. I've got old glasses. I broke my glasses, so these are like 5 years old.
Here's a question from Bad to Aaron. Do you have a bookshelf tour video, Aaron? Those are my favorite motivation videos to watch. I just recently saw yours on Penguin
Yeah. Yeah, I did. I'm like slowly going through it, so it's not like an overview, but every now and then I make one, and I try to keep it to about 20 minutes or less. So yeah, I did all my Penguin. Yeah.
I've been thinking of doing a library tour forever, but it would just take me
forever.
And I don't know how. It's like, do I just start from one shelf and work my way down and make comments? So here's a question. We've got about 10 people here. If I were to do a bookshelf tour, where would you want me to start? You want to start with the hardcovers, the quality paperbacks, the mass markets, or just sort of like the mixed genre, like I have Library of America or hard case crime books? What would people like to see if I were to do a library tour?
At the beginning.
You're saying to start with the A hardcovers and work my way through?
Yeah. Are your books organized by author, or?
I organize mine by hardcover, then quality paperback, then mass market paperback, and then they're all mixed genres by author. So like you see nonfiction and fiction in here. I do keep a poetry section separate just because it's kind of small or compared.
Yeah, me too.
Here's bad. Greg, would you do another updated library tour? Do you separate your books that you have read or all those books you have not? No, they're just mixed read and unread. I mix together. I used to have when I used to buy new books, have a separate shelf. And then when the bookshelf, I just move those to the normal bookshelf. And I decide, well, I'll just get to them when I get to them.
I'm going to be changing my library, my shelves around this summer when my father visits, and I get my books back that have been down there for years. I must have at least 100 books in boxes. So he's going to bring them up this summer when he visits from Arizona.
Okay.
I'll probably end up stacking a bookshelf atop there, make it all the way to the ceiling. But
so MJ says start with your favorites first. I'd have to separate them out, but maybe. Joseph Frank, start with the shelf close.
Hey, Joe.
Bad would love another updated tour, Greg. That'd be wonderful to see. Groovy Pop-Tart, start at the beginning. Bad is 600 books away from a library goal. Well, go,
nice.
Get the project. You can make it. Especially if you go to a lot of thrift stores and library sales. Joseph, throw darts blind at your shelf. I don't want to throw darts at my book.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Alan was saying your father's bringing up some books. That'll be cool.
Yeah.
Greg, do you have a TBR cart? No. I sort of had a shelf, like I said, but I don't have a TBR cart. Okay. We are at the end of the comments for once. So any more books that you've read recently you want to talk about, Aaron?
Well, yeah, I'll talk about the two I'm reading at the moment, maybe.
Okay, yeah.
So I picked up, it's on my Kindle. Let's see if I can show the cover on my Kindle. Let's see if it'll work. It's Istanbul, Tale of Three Cities by Bettany Hughes. Can you see that? Yeah, and it's it is what it says on the tin. It's just like a history of Istanbul from really like the first people ever to live in the area, like sort of in Neolithic times, and then through the Greeks and Romans, and
it goes through the history back when it was Constantinople and all that kind of.
So that's pretty cool because I've read a history of Byzantium. Let's see which one it is.
This one? Norwich?
No, I want to read the Norwich one. I read this one. It's by Judith Herron.
Okay.
I think is the Norwich one, is that like the 3-volume one?
3 volumes, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I've seen that in bookshops, and
I've read the first one, and the first one when I first read it when it first came out, I was just riveted. Those emperors were some pretty peculiar people.
Yeah, and yeah, there's some pretty weird. Like, I think there's like an empress who she ended up like fighting against her own son, and she like had him imprisoned and had his eyeballs spooned out and things.
Lots of that kind of stuff.
But yeah, so I've been reading that, and I've been reading some prose poetry by Francis Ponge, like French. I hope I'm saying his name correctly, but it's in this, an unfinished ode to mud.
Okay.
And I came across him a couple of years ago in an anthology of prose poetry. Really liked him. He like writes about things like sort of objects, like I don't know, kettles, mollusks, whatever. And it's very descriptive, almost too descriptive, and kind of encyclopedic in a way. So it's kind of the opposite of what you'd expect for poetry, but it kind of works in its own little way. So yeah,
what's his name again, Aaron?
Francis Ponge. There you go. If you can see that.
Let's see. Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, he's pretty good. And it's nice.
I haven't read any prose poems in a while. I'd like to check that out.
And Penguin Penguin have got a book, like the Penguin Book of the Prose Poem.
Okay.
That's really good. So that's why I found him, and it's a good Penguin volume.
Okay. I'm gonna go before we go over to Alan. I'm gonna go through the comments. Bad, that library donation is addictive. Yeah. I was able to pick up some free books the other day in my library. They don't count against my book banning because they're free. Groovy. I need shelves. I still have 12 boxes of books in my storage unit. Climate controlled. Yeah.
I need shelves too.
Bad. She's saying Pop-Tart. I heard about that. It's humid here in Austin. Books can create mold, right? I heard someone uses a dehumidifier. I have a dehumidifier in my basement. I only really need it between like September and December. And then I just put it behind the couch and we'll pull it out in a few months. Because it can get very hot and humid here in Virginia. Bad. I heard things like keeping books out of the sun window and using it to control mold. It's interesting how to take care of one's bookshelves. Yes, keeping them out of the sun is probably the most important thing that you can do because they just get very sun faded. Bad. Humidity contaminated book for sure. I worked at Half Price Books in Dallas. And for a while, if someone brought in a box of moldy books, we had to do serious cleaning of the area. Did you ever see Steve Donahue Books video on what to do with a moldy book?
Yeah.
I was kind of shocked because I said, I might have a moldy book. I said, well, I wanted to watch it. I'm going, no, that's really not what I wanted to.
No. Really hope there'll be some kind of magic way to fix it.
For mild cases, you can put them in a freezer for like a week.
Okay, that'll sort of kill it.
That will kill it, but yeah, bad. Absolutely Pop-Tart. That's what I've heard. Oh, it's so neat to work at Half Price Books. Bad. Cleaning, maintaining books is a whole category. Special pro. Oh yeah. Badger, I live in Utah and we don't have Half Price Books here and it sucks. I have to agree, Groovy. I used to live outside of Seattle and Tacoma, and we had a number of Half Price bookstores that I could go to. And it was always fun to go to those bookstores. But out here in Virginia, I have one very small used bookstore near me. doesn't get a lot of turnover. They do a lot of Civil War history books, but you just don't go in there hoping to find something. And to get any place good used bookstore, I got to drive like 60 miles. And by the time you drive 60 miles, you're just in a bad mood and not really.
My closest one, it's in a like an indoor market, and it must be that more books get left there than get sold, because there are shelves just with like 3 layers of books in them, and then there are just piles and piles of books in front of the shelves as well, and there's just more books every time, so it's more of a book dropping off point than an actual bookshop.
There's probably some good books buried behind, if you dig behind, and what's not been looked at in many years, if you like those old kind of books.
Yeah, it's annoying if you're going there to look for something, but if you're just going there to see what's there, it's quite fun.
Aaron, the Penguin Prose reference, I will have to check it out. MJ, that would be fantastic video to create for our community. That's a great idea. Hello, Gareth.
Hey,
Book
Gareth.
songs and other magic.
Hello.
Jasmine, your baby niece Hannah says hi, Aaron.
Oh. Hi, Hannah.
That's right, Aaron. Your sister used to make videos for a while.
She did, yeah. She what did she? I think she stopped for Christmas or something like that, and then just decided she didn't want to do it anymore. But
well,
yeah,
it's not going to be for everyone.
No.
Groovy, there's only one small used bookstore in my town, and it's just Popular Books. I feel your pain, Groovy.
I can't relate.
No, you can't. You got the best bookstore in the United States.
Oh. Yeah, you should see this bookstore, Aaron. It's like a whole city block. It's 5 floors. It's called Powell's City of Books. I do vlogs sometimes, occasionally there.
Yep. Okay. So, Aaron, I guess you're any more?
I'm done. I think that's it. Yeah.
All right, Alan, you're up.
All right. Well, I'm buddy reading this with Shannon at Shannon's Book Musings, Musics, and I always butcher her channel name. I'm sorry, Shannon. But this was a free book from the library. They have like in the entrance, they have a shelf where they have a bunch of free books, So Alice Munro, Canadian. She's only a short story writer, but I'm really surprised on how much I'm really liking this. She's got a lot of stories about like a writer who's the main character. Stephen King does that a lot too. But I enjoy that. Really easy to read, kind of like a Hemingway. You really don't need any second sources or anything. So it's a nice change from Gaddis in a way. Although I haven't used any second sources with him either, although I could,
I have a whole thing of, well, we'll get to Gaddis later, I think.
Yeah.
That's all you read?
Yeah, well, I'm like reading through the Luminaries again too. I'm almost done with that, but I'm reading that with Flo, a Grape Jelly Library. I'm rereading it, but so I'm trying to wait for her to kind of catch up. But then we're gonna do a buddy read either next month or in May of this Clockwork Orange.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I know I've read that several times, but looking forward to it. This has the last chapter, but it doesn't have the glossary at the end.
I guess we should explain, Alan, about A Clockwork Orange. People who don't know, it was originally published in Britain in the 60s, somewhere around there. And it had 21 chapters. And each part is about 7 chapters long and 21 chapters because it ends when Alex is 21.
Mm-hmm.
And Anthony Burgess was the kind of author that he really cared about that kind of stuff. But what happened when it was published in the United States is that some editor decided that the last chapter of the book didn't really fit with the book. So they dropped it. And then when Stanley Kubrick made the movie, he made the movie based off the American version of the book. And now, Aaron, have you read A Clockwork Orange?
I have, yeah, like a few years ago, yeah.
So we're not going to go into huge spoiler territory, but the last chapter is kind of very oddly fit into the book, right? But it makes sense in what the author's trying to do, but it's very different from the movie version.
Yeah. Now that I'm thinking about it, I can't remember. I've seen the movie many times too, and I have 2 posters. I used to have them hanging out, but I changed it around. I can't remember exactly how it ends. You know how you do with past books you read, you can't remember how it ends sometimes? So it'll be refreshing reread for me.
Yeah, I've pretty much just got sort of impressions of it. I can't remember too much about it, but
Okay.
yeah.
I dressed up as Halloween as Alex one time. Pretty easy costume. Get a big eyelash and a bowler hat.
Yeah.
I had a pool stick for a cane, or half a pool stick. Wear a cup on the outside. Pretty easy. Get a white jump suit.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Alan, are you done with your books you're reading?
Yeah, I'm going to be reading some Agatha Christie for MJ's weekend of Agatha Christie.
I think I'll have to pick one up too.
Yeah.
Okay, so comments. Mark, no used bookshops or bookshops in my town. Yeah.
Damn.
Same here with MJ. We're all in book deserts, except for Alan there. Gareth, I'm lucky. I've got a few and a few nearby towns too, and the UK nearby means an hour away. Yeah, you got a great train. You can take a train anywhere in the UK. So bad, Alan. We're doing A Clockwork Orange. I think you are doing A Clockwork Orange.
I believe we are.
Gareth, a charity shop.
Oh, there's library.
Down my road does paperbacks for 50p. Some good ones. Ooh. MJ, hearing about all this book shopping makes me want to take that one. You know, MJ, here's a trick. Short books count just as much as long books. You can pick up the really fast Agatha. No, you'd have to own the Agatha Christie's. But look on your shelves for really short books and just plow through them.
Knock them out.
MJ, how close are you to finishing? I think she's like halfway. I'm not sure. She'll mention. Mark, I just think this challenge is a form of self-torture. Sort of.
I think the 500 one is.
Gareth, I find it frustrating that Kubrick banned the film himself.
Oh, didn't know that.
Yeah. Let me.
But I love it. Bad loves everything about A Clockwork Orange. Wait till you read the end of A Clockwork Orange, Bad. It's going to be a very different experience. MJ's 29 out of 51. Gareth, oh God, well, you feel like beginning the challenge and no one will judge you. Like save us from
dig out
the
my posters for
book
Clockwork
editors.
Orange, but they're buried.
Yep, I agree. Some of the book editors make really bizarre choices. MJ, it is Mark, and then when I'm done, it will be all retail therapy. Bad. I definitely broke that challenge, Garth. I love buying books. MJ, Agatha in April 14th through the 16th.
Ooh.
Gareth, yesterday I finished Closely Watched Trains and filmed a review for May. It was really good. You know, Gareth, I read Closely Watched Trains last November. My comment on that is that I was missing something because it's all this Soviet realism, and I just felt like I was missing so much that the author was trying to portray. And I just didn't get because I'm way out of that culture. Bad. I'm looking forward to it. Alan, you can help me through the book.
I'll try.
That book would help a lot. Okay. So now to what I have finished reading. Now, I have officially finished reading my 100 book challenge the other day on Saturday.
Great. Coolio.
It is. I may be going on to the 500 book challenge, but I am pretty sure that I'm not going to make it to the end of 500 books. That
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
I will be buying books. One of the reasons is that there are some books that I want to buy for some people here on BookTube. And I'm going to have to go to a used bookstore and look for them, which basically is going to be temptation. And you can't resist, like Oscar Wilde says, I can resist everything except temptation.
Yeah, he also said the only way to rid temptation is to yield to it. I like Oscar Wilde's witticisms.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of aphorisms in that.
Yeah, so the book that the last 3 books that I read was a children's book of poetry translated from the German that was originally published in 1848.
Mm-hmm.
And let's just say that some of these poems for children are not what you'd probably want to read your kids today.
They cut off their thumb?
There is Vin did, he read it on one of his Poetry Thursdays, where he's how I discovered this book. And it's called Suck a Thumb, Someone Suck a Thumb, about a child who sucks his thumb. And the parents say, if you suck your thumb, this man is going to come and cut off your thumbs. So parents leave, child sucks his thumb, and a man comes with shears and cuts off his thumbs. For a little girl who plays with matches and burns herself up.
Oh, geez. That'll show you.
Or a boy who doesn't eat his soup and he starves to death.
Well, it's how you learn.
So then I read was a police procedural by Ed McBain.
Oh, yeah.
Ed McBain is Criminality's favorite author. Mm-hmm. And they're set, it's not called New York City. He invents some other name because he doesn't want to have readers comment about his details. Like if you have your police detective go park on 10th Street on a Thursday afternoon, he's going to have a reader says, you know, there's street sweeping on Thursday afternoons at that time. Police officers could not park their cars on that street. So he just decided to make up a new name, and it's still New York City.
Right.
But it's
good idea.
It's a pretty clever idea. And it was a pretty fun mystery about a police officer who discovers a severed hand in an airline bag at a bus stop and having to track down who the hand belongs to. And then I finished. What?
Fingerprints.
This was 1960. They had fingerprints. I think he said they cut off the tips of the fingers.
Oh, okay.
And then I finished William Gaddis's The Recognitions.
Yeah.
That was my March of the Man. That's Alan's going to show it.
Oh.
It's a magnificent book. It's the best book that I've read of the year so far.
Yeah, me
but
too.
I also understand that a lot of people are going to be totally put off by this book, just by its length, its complexity, and the author's writing style is just going to say, some people are going to say, nope, not a book for me. And that's fine.
Most people.
Yeah.
but it's a great, great book. I mean, it's close to, I don't know, perfect.
I don't know, close. It's an experience.
Yeah, well, yeah, not perfect, but close to a masterpiece, maybe. It's a great novel.
It's definitely a postmodern masterpiece. It's up there. And then I'm listening to an audiobook called Julian by Gore Vidal. That is a fictionalized memoir of Emperor Julian from the Byzantine era. And it's a lot of fun. You can see Gore Vidal poking a lot of fun at religion through their ancient beliefs. And then another one I just started this morning is The Bastard by John Jakes, which was an extremely popular bunch of historical novels, like in the 70s and 80s. You'd see John Jakes everywhere. It was just, I don't know if he was the James Patterson of the day, but his books were extremely popular.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the books that I am currently reading. Oh, hello, Brian.
Hey, Brian.
Gareth managed 15 out of 25, but I'm glad I freed myself of that.
Yeah, I could have done the 25 challenge, but I don't know.
MJ, I'm okay. Over halfway done with the challenge, and it is a good place to be. Gareth, I have set myself a challenge to start my next novel in May too, so that's going to break my reading habit. Okay. Ooh, another author tube. Yes. And just to say, Gareth, you know, when I'm on my book buying bans, that books published by booktubers are exempt from the ban, so you can go ahead and buy their books because you can buy books from friends and not feel worried about it. Oh, wait a second. Bad. Aaron, I have a question.
Aaron.
What is your favorite challenge in BookTube that you enjoyed?
Oh, don't know. I don't know if I've done that many challenges, except like I do plenty of events and things, I suppose. I'm trying to think of challenges. I don't know. I did the BookTube spin the last time that happened. I think that was a while ago now. That was pretty fun. But yeah, other than that, stuff like March of the Mammoths, that's one of my favorites, even though I'd kind of been cheating by carrying on with something that I've been reading for quite a long time and haven't really made much headway. But yeah.
Aaron and I and Flo read this, but it was in April. This could have counted as a mammoth. This was a terrific book. And I like I said, I finished it and then I immediately started rereading it. And I'm getting so much more out of it the second read, really enjoying it. But the first read through, I didn't know what was going on until like page 500 or something. Then I go, oh, okay. Well, it's a terrific book.
I read that book, but it was over 10 years ago. So a lot of the detail has passed me by or like buried deep in my brain.
I wanted to ask. Oh,
she's just published a new book too.
Yeah.
Oh, she did.
Is it like Barnum Wood, something like that?
Something like that. Oh. I think it's getting fairly good reviews.
Okay. Yeah.
Have you read any of this American poet, Aaron?
I've read some John Berryman. Yeah, I've got like the first 79 Dream Songs. I've got that, and I got a fair bit through it, and still on the fence with John Berryman.
Yeah, because he like created his own not system, but his own like rhyme scheme and that.
Yeah.
And I really like him. But when in grad school, I had a professor who actually met him.
Okay.
So, and he took me through the Dream Songs, and I just was blown away. You know, to have somebody take you through it. And Berryman met Yeats. Berryman lived in Ireland for a while. A lot of stuff about the Vietnam War in here. A lot of stuff about Kennedy and that. A lot of stuff about Ireland. But there's a character called Mr. Bones in here, which is a white guy in blackface. And, you know, with today's political climate and all that, it kind of, you could really criticize this book if you wanted to. You know, like, why is that character in there and what's the purpose of that? Is he mocking, you know, black people, which he's not. But I really enjoy John Berryman, especially Dream Songs.
Yeah, you know, I really get upset when people knock older published books for not being up to contemporary standards. You know, in language or race relations, and in some cases there's some just criticism because some of our authors were not very nice people, but people tend to read too much into it, like the blackface on Mr. Bones. It's like, just accept it for what it was.
It's a device.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, I think it works.
Okay, Joseph, one of my favorite books as a kid was about some kid who pushed his peas onto a fork with his thumb. Despite many warnings to stop, the kid woke up one day with a pea plant growing out of his thumb.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, Garrett. Oh, hold on. Jim, hey guys, don't forget to boop the like button. Yeah, that'd be nice. You can do that. Here's another question, Aaron from Bad. What is your favorite genre?
Oh, if I was, I don't know, if I was allowed to classify, I suppose poetry isn't really a genre, but I love poetry. Other than that, I'd be boring and just say classics. I suppose particularly, so particularly sort of late Victorian through to kind of early 20th century. That's the area, at least for fiction, that's the area that's interesting. And then for poetry, it's all over the map. I'm not very good with my genres, really. I tend to neglect mystery and thrillers and things. But I should get back to them. Yeah.
You know,
now,
there's no shame in liking poetry as a genre. I mean, as your favorite, because that's what you really like. And
do you write poems, Aaron?
Yeah, I do write poems. For a while, I was like quite a lot, and like sending them out. Got a couple published.
Yeah, great.
And then and then I kind of got out of the habit, I suppose. So I'm trying to this year slowly trying to work up a bit more of a habit and just, I suppose, just try enjoy writing rather than Yeah,
I used to send out a lot, and I've had quite a few poems published, and then I had a span of like 10 years where I didn't send any out. Now I'm starting to write again. I'm having 2 published in the Sturgeon Society with, I don't know if you guys heard about that, about all what Howie and Pay Veal started a publishing company. So a lot of booktubers are
I think it's all booktubers, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's all booktubers, but so that's pretty cool, and we get paid for it too.
That's excellent.
Yeah,
I know when I was in my 20s, I wrote a lot of short stories and sent them out, but never got published. And it was
you were going to send me a story to read, Greg.
Yeah, I know, but they're not very good, you know. I think I should just leave them where they are.
I'm a pretty good editor. I mean, I've was an editor at Hayden's Ferry Review at ASU for 2 years, but I've done some editing.
Yeah, but they're 30 years old.
Well, I'd like to read one.
Well, there's MJ saying hi to Jim. Poetry is absolutely a great one. It's beautiful. Well, all of us have done Poetry Thursday to at least some extent.
I've done a few.
I've sort of gotten out of the habit just because, you know, you make a poetry video and you get 30 views and you're thinking, wow, that's a lot of views for a piece of poetry. You know.
And then me, I lose like 2-3 subscribers.
I used to comment that every time I put up a poetry video, I lost a subscriber.
I'm out of here. Poetry, I'm out of here. Or if I put up like a music video, it's I'm out of here. I can't break 600 subscribers.
You got to do a viral video on something, and you never know what's going to be viral. Actually, Aaron, you did the Western Canon tag, right?
Yeah.
That was one of my most viral videos that normally I get maybe 200, maybe 300. And I had like 1,500 views on that one.
Oh, wow. Cool.
And I'm going like, what did I do for that?
I know. You can't figure
You
it
had
out.
some good answers. Yeah.
I don't know if it was the answer. I just think for whatever reason, the algorithm decided to show it to people and never showed anything else again. So here's a question, Aaron. Aaron, have you shared any of your poems in your channel? I used to read some out of the Nimara poetry. She is a truly talented poetry writer.
Yeah, Ben's mentioned her before too, and I think Pax has as well.
Yeah.
Oh. Maria. I haven't heard that, so I'll check it out. I read one of my poems once, but it was quite a long time ago. It's kind of buried in backlog of videos, so maybe I should do that again in the future. But it's been a while since I've read one of my own poems.
Or just say it. You don't have to just read out a poem and don't say the author and say, what do you think of this poem?
Yeah. No one will know.
No one will know. Bad. I think everyone would enjoy your short stories, Greg. Well, you know, the editors at the magazines I send them to disagreed.
I used to collect rejection letters, like F. Scott Fitzgerald is supposedly wallpapered his bathroom with his rejection letters.
Yeah,
so
I had a
when
few in my day, but eventually I just moved and just tossed them in the trash can. So, Jim, roses are red. I guess this is poetry. All right.
Roses are red, violets are blue. I'm a schizophrenic, and so are you.
So am I.
So am I. That's right. God, I messed it up. I'm a schizophrenic, and so am I.
Jim, I posted a video last Monday reading Stud's Law by Rachel Rhodes Puckett.
Oh, I've heard of that.
I'm a schizophrenic, and so am I.
Bet. I haven't done any Poetry Thursday in a long time. That's why I say I used to read poetry. Nim was my last reading so far. Yeah, I keep telling myself I'm going to go back to do Poetry Thursday one of these days.
Yeah, me too. I'll do one this Thursday.
Joseph, I am the master of losing subscribers. LOL. Yeah, well, you know, people just lose subscribers for whatever reason. And actually, I kind of blame it on my cat videos. I put up a video of my cats, and I can usually gain 2 to 5 subscribers off a cat video. And then I guess one of those cat people look and say, why is this guy talking about books? Unsubscribe again.
Exactly.
Pax. Pax is amazing, Gareth. I miss her very much. She is a true poetry master. She is a wonderful person in our community. Yeah, Bad. She was, I always enjoyed her exuberance in her videos. And she did do one recently like last week. But a lot of them were older vlog style, so I don't think she's quite feeling up to a lot of new stuff yet. But hopefully she'll be back and making some more pretty soon. Joseph, I read one of my poems on my channel ages ago. Never again. Poetry is too emotionally draining for me. I can see that. Bad. I can't wait to see Pax poetry reading when she comes back. We're all waiting for her to come back. Mark, maybe your stories were ahead of their time, Greg, and now the world is ready. I actually had a story I never finished because it was crap. But it was a dystopian environment where gender had been completely removed from all language. So you could not mention someone's gender in language, and you could not point out their gender in public. But I never finished it. And if I mean, it would have taken someone who had written a lot of books to get it right. And I was beginning, and I didn't get anything right. So it just never went anywhere. But it would have been very salient for today if someone with talent had tried it. Mark, I'm losing quite a lot of subs today after my last video, but I will win them back with tomorrow's video. Ha ha. Yeah, I understand that, Mark. It's a touchy subject. I was going to do a video on why I dislike young adult literature, but then I figured I'd lose a couple of subscribers on that one. Jim, I could ask Chat GPT to churn out some poems, see how folks react to them. Now, there's an interesting question. You could put one of Aaron's originals next to the chat and say, which is the person, which is the chat bot?
That's a good idea.
Or something. I don't know if Aaron would really want to share his poetry, but someone could do an original poem and a chat poem and say, which one is which? Okay.
I might take up that idea.
The Jim book. I tried that, Jim, and got mixed reviews. Okay. So, what other subjects do people want to talk about? Anything interesting?
I don't know. I can remember. Was it last week when Alan, you kept on trying to bring up Faulkner in August, and it just didn't really happen.
When we were live?
Yeah. With I'm blanking who it was
Una?
last time. Yeah.
Oh, with Una? Yeah, we talked about it a bit because I've known Una for like 4 years. He's a Faulkner scholar and Joycean, and and he's hosted with us, but now he's reading Ulysses, and hopefully he'll be done with that so he can host again with this Faulkner in August, because we're doing one of my favorite books, Epsilon. A lot of people think that's Faulkner's best novel. I kind of facetiously call it the sequel to Sound and the Fury, because Quentin Compson is in it again. But it's a Southern Gothic novel to the extreme.
It's a good one. I read that when I was in university, and I absolutely love it. I mean, it amazed me. There's one section in the middle that goes like one sentence goes on for I don't know how many pages or something like that.
Yeah, it's supposed to be the world's longest sentence in literature.
Wow. Yeah, I've read Light in August, and I'm trying to remember As I Lay Dying and Go Down Moses, but that's it so far. So
great ones. Light in August is my sentimental favorite Faulkner novel. I just can't. I've read it like 3-4 times, and I just it's so cathartic for me. The character Joe Christmas, how Faulkner, Joe Christmas is a scoundrel, murderer, just a villain, evil character, but you kind of root for him.
Yeah.
Or I find myself like rooting for him somehow. How does Faulkner do that?
It's really clever. Yeah.
So Anna Novella. Hello, Anne. No, Anne Novella.
Man,
Oh, I want to show Anne something.
thanks for showing up.
Haha.
Borges. Ficciones is in here. April. Borges.
Yeah, I've got that book in my cart. I'm going to get that. And Codex Cantina just put out another short story today, a Borges story.
Cool.
Oh,
heard
Ben,
he's
that's
a
another
giant.
question. Aaron, when did you start your channel?
Ooh, maybe like a year and a half, 2 years ago, something like that.
Yeah, I'm coming up to my 2-year anniversary, April.
Yeah.
5 for me.
Gareth, what are your plans for April, guys? What are we all reading in April?
Ooh.
Well,
I think for
mentioned,
me.
Go ahead, Aaron.
Oh, okay. For me, it's going to be like I suppose like a catch-up month. I think I had quite a crazy, a kind of crazy March, and so I just want to slow down, just read what I want to read. So I'll probably be reading a lot of Proust and chugging away. But I want to read some like short stories and just dip into things and not worry about finishing books. Just sort of read bits and bobs when I'm in the mood. So yeah, that's going to be my April, I think.
Mine's going to be pretty relaxed. I mentioned the Agatha Christie readathon that MJ's doing, and it's like just for a week or a weekend, I think. A weekend.
Yeah, it's the 14th and through the 16th.
So I'm going to try to read a couple. I've never read her before.
I've only read one book by her.
Yeah, MJ's never read her, so it's kind of like that. That's how it started. It started with one of her live streams. We came up with, we realized, well, I haven't read her either. Well, I haven't either. Me neither. Let's have a readathon.
Well, for me, I volunteered to be a BookTube prize judge again. I don't know if I'm going to be picked or not, either in fiction or nonfiction. So my April is a little bit up in the air because depending on if I get selected, that could just overtake my month because I could have a group with 2 or 3 mammoths or something like that. So I just got to kind of leave it open to say, But other than that, I'm also going to do Agatha Christie. I'm doing Borges. And that's all that I really have scheduled. Now, I have a couple others that I'm doing. My presidential biographies. So I'm going to be doing a presidential biography, which is going to count for People in April, which is hosted by Elizabeth at Bookins and Books. I'll be reading The Five, which is I forgot the author. But that's the story of the 5 women murdered by Jack the Ripper. And the whole idea is say like, okay, Jack the Ripper is very famous, but here's all his murder victims. And no one really pays any attention to them because they were, for the most part, on the lower margins of society. And I guess people say, well, they're disposable. And the thing is, they're really not disposable because they were women and they were real people. And just bring them out and say, these were the people that were murdered. So I'm really looking forward to that one.
Now, isn't Roz Scala
Roz is also co-host.
Yeah.
And I'm also
she's a good friend of mine. I've known her about 4 years.
Yeah. And I'm doing my project for reading. I'm sorry. Reading
we send books to each other.
Go ahead.
No, I'm just kidding. Roz and I send books to each other Like we had that Don Quixote group read, I think a year ago, at least a year ago, and she sent me that book. She sent me some other ones. When I was working at the tea factory a couple of years ago, I was sending everybody tea boxes. So she got a big kick out of that.
I know. You sent me a tea. I still got tea. I still got
You do?
enough tea to last for a long time.
Yeah, it's good tea. It was a fun job, but it was full time, and I really don't like working full time, but I worked there 8 months. Now I just work in the summertime.
And the last project I have is I'm also trying to read every National Book Award winner.
Oh, that's great.
And the Book 2 prize is sort of pushing that one to the side. But I've read The Man with the Golden Arm by Nelson Algren, which is a fantastic novel about a morphine addict in Chicago in the 50s. Actually, it would have been the late 40s.
Wow.
I reread parts of Faulkner's Collected Stories, which won the 51 National Book Award. And then I'm going to do a reread of From Here to Eternity by James Jones, which is a very famous World War II novel.
Great movie.
And if I don't get selected for the Book 2 prize, that will be on my list for April. That's about it for me, I think.
Yeah, I think April is going to be like a smooth month. Although,
ooh, Jim, I just asked ChatGPT to write a poem about Greg, Aaron, and AI talking about books. Oh. Greg, Aaron, and AI sat down to chat about their love for books. Where they're at. Greg said, I love to read a good mystery. It keeps me guessing. A real brain twister, you see. Aaron nodded in agreement and said with a grin, but I prefer a fantasy, a world I can get lost in. Al added, I enjoy biographies. They tell me a true story, and self-help books. They make me feel less sorry.
I resemble that remark.
They all agree that books are a wonder, a portal to a world that takes you under.
I wonder with under? Oh, man.
Okay. Greg said, a book can take you on a journey, a place you've never been, but somehow it's familiar, you see. Oh, I hope there's more.
Journey and see. That's kind of a slant rhyme, huh?
Yeah, that's from Bad talking about it. Hold on. I'm not dismissing you, Bad. I'm getting to the end of this poem. Aaron chimed in. A book can teach you things, make you smarter, more informed about what life brings. I'm skipping some stuff just to get to the poem. I'll get back to him. Al continued, a book can change your life, give you hope, strength, and inspire you to thrive. Again, let's get into the poem. So they sat and they talked about books all night, a conversation that brought them pure delight. Well, you know something? I wouldn't call it the world's best poem, but
interesting, very interesting.
It's
spot on about me and self-help. I like some self-help.
I read some mysteries. I read some mysteries, but I don't think Aaron reads a lot of fantasy.
Not a lot, no. I find with fantasy, I've got the Stephen Donaldson books, like the Thomas Covenant books. I've got all of them, and there are just so many of them, and it's so much that I know it's just going to take a long time to get through the whole series, and that just kind of keeps me from reading it. But I know I need to at some point.
Here's the thing: I read those books in high school. I really liked them. Now, Thomas Covenant as a character, you're going to get a lot of people enraged for what Thomas Covenant. I'm going to give a mild spoiler. mean, this is like the first 50 pages, so I think that's within the fair description of the story. Now, Aaron, do you know the basic premise?
Yeah, roughly, yeah.
Well, I'm going to repeat because some people, it's like Thomas Covenant was an author who got a wildly successful bestseller. And he had a wife and a child. And then he came down with leprosy.
Leprosy.
And it's still a disease that exists today. And he lost 2 fingers of his right hand.
Damn.
That they had to amputate because they became. And then his wife deserted him, took his son away. He lives in this town, and the town totally shuns him because he's a leper. Right? And so he's walking through the town. He's determined to pay, I think it's his phone bill or his electric bill in person, just to show them that you can't dismiss me. And then he gets transported to a fantasy land. Now, one of the things about leprosy is that it makes all your nerves dead. And you can't feel it. You have no sense of touch. And he gets describing that he has to examine himself throughout the day because if he had stepped on a nail and punctured his foot, he wouldn't know he'd punctured it. He has a hole in his foot. He wouldn't know. But in this land, he gets healed of leprosy by a 15-year-old girl with magic mud. And he thinks he's gone totally insane. And the girl is worshiping because she thinks he's the resurrection of a hero, an ancient hero. And he sexually assaults her because all of a sudden he has sensitivities in his body parts that he didn't have before. And he thinks he's dreaming. So right away, you get a lot of people to say, nope, I'm not reading a story about a rapist.
Yeah.
But there's one scene, because he's supposed to be the reincarnation of a hero, where the mother of the girl he sexually assaults has to transport him upriver by a boat. And you could just see this mother seething just in anger and frustration of having to take the man who sexually assaulted his daughter to safety. And it's a powerful scene because you can just feel this woman's rage.
Yeah.
That's all I'll say. It's
Okay.
But you're reading a story about a man who sexually assaults a teenage girl.
Yeah. It's interesting to have like such a flawed character, and you know that from the beginning. You know?
He is just one of the most flawed characters you will ever read about. But it's a good book.
What about Robert Jordan? He's got that long, 15-volume series.
I could never get through that. And for Thomas Covenant, you can read the first 3 books and just not worry about the rest. Really.
Okay.
And Novella Borges, yes. I uploaded my first book review January 2009 before BookTube existed. Yep, that's what Jim gave us. The Parrot. Mark,
yeah.
I completely forgot about Michael Chabon. Yes, we're doing Michael Chabon, The Parrot Book, The Final Solution.
Yeah.
It's a novella. It's like 3 hours in audiobook.
Yeah, I've got that book coming in the mail. Yeah, thanks for the reminder, Mark. Looking forward to that. I was just talking to Brandy about that last night, about Chabon. She's never read any. I really recommend him. We have fun reading him together. I really enjoy his writing.
We did Adventures of Cavalier and Clay and the Yiddish Policeman's Union.
Yes, sir. Man, I really loved Cavalier and Clay. Really enjoyed that. I'm going to read some more comics too. I'm going to go. There's a couple comic bookstores here in Portland that I haven't been to. They closed one in Old Town, but there's one in my neighborhood. I'd have to take a bus to get to it, but I'm going to do that next month. I want to get some Batman versus Superman, and Michael K. Vaughn is kind of sparked my interest in comics again. I like Spider-Man a lot too. I mentioned that because Cavalier and Clay has a lot to do with comics.
Yes, it does. So Anne and Ollie, they're reading all of Patricia Highsmith's books. I've only read a few of hers, but the ones I've read, I've liked.
Yeah, I've read Talented Mr. Ripley, and that's it. But it was.
I have not read that, and I have it on my shelf. One of these days, I want to read it.
I thought it was amazing. Yeah.
The Strangers on a Train, though, that was really a good one too.
Isn't that a Hitchcock movie?
I think it was.
It was.
Mark says The Five is excellent. You read it with Carrie last year.
Oh yeah, The Five. I read that. I read that on my own. But speaking of Ollie and I are gonna buddy read Elmore Leonard's collected westerns for June on the Range, and I'm looking forward to it. But I've heard buddy reading with Ollie, you got to be on your toes. You got to read fast.
Yeah, you got to figure out when he's going to start and start a week early, and you'll still finish.
Right, I definitely will. But look at it has all these covers of old Western magazines.
That's cool.
Cool.
Joseph is saying easy to tell the difference between a chatbot and a human author. Chatbot stories will be the most boring. No conflict to speak of because of the restrictions in the algorithm.
I did think the poem, it made me think of almost like a picture book, Like
it did. You could see the little illustrations. What's the one Michael came? Frog and Toad together.
Yeah.
You remember seeing that one?
And you are my best friend in the world.
So we will go out reading books today and go into the bookstore shopping. All right. Oh, Jared says, cool seeing the guitars in the background, Aaron.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm surprised every day when I walk in and they haven't fallen off the wall. It's great.
Do you play them?
Yeah. It's other than reading, playing guitar is probably my other main pastime.
Oh yeah. My guitar is in hock right now. I periodically have to hock my guitar, and so it's in hock. I got $100 for it, but I go to two pawn shops, and I'll get it back next month. It cost me like $20 in interest, but
yeah,
it's too bad. But you get it back.
Her name's Alberta.
Oh, nice.
So Bad, thank you for working as a security guard, Alan. Bad said that.
Oh yeah, I do that summer for concerts. It's not like a security guard. They give you a T-shirt that says staff on it and a walkie-talkie, and I basically go, you can't go this way, you have to go that way. Nope, can't come backstage. No, you got to go that way. But then I get to see the shows for free.
That's cool.
Barry, I saw Billy Strings, Bonnie Raitt, James Taylor last year, 9 Inch Nails, a bunch of people. It's a really cool gig.
So Joseph, I remember that movie with Frank Sinatra. You must be talking about The Man with the Golden Arm. Good movie, even though Sinatra is a terrible jazz drummer. Okay, I haven't seen the movie, so I'm just going to take your word for it. Okay, here's a question for Aaron from Bad. What are your top 3 poetry writers you enjoy?
Good question.
That's really hard. For a long time, I feel like the one poet that really got me into reading poetry was Ted Hughes. And yeah, when I was in school, we read his book Birthday Letters, and I went back and read his other stuff. But to kind of understand Birthday Letters better, I went and read Sylvia Plath. I hadn't heard of her before reading Birthday Letters, and so they were like my top two sort of right away. There was just something, I don't know, there's something similar but very different about them. Yeah, it's hard exactly to say, but they got me excited about reading poetry. And then after those two, it's hard. It kind of floats around a lot. I just this month I've been reading Rilke for the first time in a while. I don't know whether he'd take the number 3 spot, but I really like Rilke. I like Yeats quite a lot as well. He's he's kind of like the comfort food for my poetry, I suppose. I just sort of go back to him for I don't know. So something about him just makes me feel good and cozy.
I love Yeats.
Yeah.
Now, Ted Hughes, I'm pretty ignorant about. I love Sylvia Plath, especially like or all of the poems in Ariel, but Daddy and Lady Lazarus. What would you recommend me for first-time reader Ted Hughes?
If you like really kind of quite strong, bleak, kind of earthy poems, his collection Crow is really, really dark, because essentially there's the history with Plath and Hughes, and then with essentially the woman that Ted Hughes cheated on Plath with, the same thing kind of happened again. Like that woman committed suicide, and she actually killed one of her kids when she committed suicide as well.
Man.
And so he was in a really dark place in like the 60s, early 70s, and all of that is there in Crow. So it's quite a lot, but it's probably one of the most powerful things he wrote. And there's some quite beautiful stuff in it, but it's very dark. And he's and
cool. I'll have to check him out. I think I have one of his books on my shelf. I don't know if I've read everything.
Yeah, he's done. I've read his Tales from Ovid as well. That's quite fun, and it's just his sort of retellings of Metamorphosis, and that's pretty good as well.
So Joseph, Stephen Donaldson, shout out. I have just finished reading book 10 of the Covenant series.
Oh, well done.
That's well done. I read the first 6 when they were first published. And then he published a third series maybe 10 years ago, maybe 12 years ago. And I read the first 2, but I never got into them enough to finish them up. Oh, MJ's gone. Bye, MJ. Joseph again. BookTube had a Thomas Covenant read-along challenge a few years back. Donahue, Brian, Bookish, others participated. I think I was the only one to upload reviews, though. Book 10. The thing is, Stephen Donaldson does not get a lot of love nowadays. Gareth, I nearly picked up Patricia Highsmith because of Ollie and Anne reading them. I can highly recommend Strangers on a Train. I have not read others, but I can recommend Strangers on a Train. Joseph, again, good point regarding the picture book. The AI stories seem to follow templates, play with them for a while, and the stories become bland very quickly. Yeah, I can see that. Patricia Highsmith is worth picking up. She is a great storyteller, and all her characters are flawed, but you still root for them. Bad. Aaron, I guess she said, thank you for answering my questions.
No worries. They're good questions.
They are good questions. Bad is coming up with better questions than I am. It's to feed the... So we talk about poetry. I know that like one of my favorite poems, at least at one time, was T.S. Eliot. I really love the love song of J. Alfred Prufrock. For whatever reason, that is a poem that just really spoke to me when I first read that and through the ages. But as I got older, we did that. We did a read of T.S. Eliot with David Wiley and I think it was Shelley Swearingen and maybe not Shelley Swearingen. She was the Ovid. I forgot. There was someone else in that group. Were you in that group, Aaron?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that was good.
And he didn't captivate me as much as he used to. But I sort of felt that I had saw his flaws more as I gotten older, saying, well, I can disagree with him more now than I did when I was younger.
Yeah. I wonder if in a way, you know how it's what people think about like sort of jazz and, you know, in the early 20th century, how it's really electric and it's kind of shaking things up and it's really fun. And kind of looking back at it now, it's kind of rather tame compared to where music's gone since, you know, and it's maybe kind of similar with some of the modernist poets, you know, for the time they were doing some really, you know, quite crazy stuff in a way. And then you know, there's been quite a lot after them then.
You know, he was quite the vanguard of his time. I mean, like the Wasteland, I think just sort of blew people out of the water. And again, with Ezra Pound, his cantos, they were just trying things that no one else was trying.
Yeah.
Along the lines with Faulkner doing things that no one else was doing, Joyce doing things no one else was doing, and it's just like a whole venue had opened up to the writing world.
Yeah.
And they were all jumping in. You could throw in Virginia Woolf in that one too.
Now, if you guys, I'm sure you guys have read the T.S. Eliot, the version with before and after Ezra Pound, now Ezra's edit. Have you seen that?
No. I've seen it. I haven't read it, but I've seen it in
really
the bookshop.
Interesting book. Ezra Pound was really very influential with that poem.
I will have to look it up.
Yeah, you would enjoy it.
Okay.
You both would.
Oh, bad is like, no, but you're doing good asking some questions here. Bad is, I'm just learning a lot from your live shows with Alan. Great minds think alike, I always say, and I'm growing with the community. Bad is growing up.
Yeah, I'm going to send you some good books, Bad. Just wait.
Well, Jim, T.S. Eliot is an anagram for toilets. I can see why some people would say that. I will be fair. But I still, as I said, I still love the love song of JL for Proof Rock. I still think.
I can remember the first time I read T.S. Eliot, I think I sort of picked up his selected poems in a charity shop, and just sort of sat down when I got home and opened up and read the love song of J. Alfred Prufrock. And then I had to take a nap because I hadn't read anything quite like it before.
Well, you know, there wasn't anything like that before, but it's so different from current poetry. It's like, I'm not as knowledgeable on current poetry as a lot of people, but it seems that current poetry has sort of gone in the opposite direction of T.S. Eliot. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, it's much more personal, I suppose, and even when it appears to be kind of experimental in a way, there's still a kind of simplicity to it, I suppose. I don't know, it's hard to put into words, but yeah, it's very much veered away from
I used to subscribe to American Poetry Review. It's a magazine that's in like newsprint. It's a really cool magazine. And I think I'm going to resubscribe to it and start writing poems again.
Now, like you're saying, Aaron, about a lot of contemporary poetry being very personal. It seems like whenever I pick up new poet, it's always from the poet's viewpoint.
Yeah.
A lot of it is the poet is the character that's narrating the poem. They're not talking about some other subject that they are just witnessing and talking about. Is that another fair?
I think so. There are definitely some. There must be quite a lot of poetry and books that come out that are kind of like disjointed memoirs almost. It's. I mean, I've read some that are very much like that, and they work, and they're quite good. But yeah, so sometimes you just want something else, something more imaginative, or I don't know.
I know. I read one earlier this year. Tannenbaum. It's about a young woman who joined a garbage crew on the river in Oregon, and she was the only woman working on this garbage crew. And as I understand it, it was part memoir, part fiction in poetry. So she talked about the people that she worked on the garbage crew with, but she made up new names for them and gave them some fictionalized character. Because I guess you don't really want to talk about the people that you really work with that level. And I did read one poem of hers, and it's the only one I truly liked. And it was kind of moving because they're going through the garbage, and they find a dog. And the dog was thrown out in the garbage with its collar and name tag on, and the woman is just going, you just can't do that to a dog. And she got the people on her crew to go give the dog a burial. Like, this dog was presumably loved once, but
what a horrible poem.
I mean, it's not a horrible poem.
No,
it's horrible what these people did
to
their dog. But then she has to go through and she says, like, I don't know why they did that. And you know, part of it was like, if you've ever had a pet and your pet dies, you got to pay $100. To bury your pet or have it cremated. It's like, for some people, they don't have $100.
True.
What?
True.
So it was in that way. It was a pretty good poem. Gave you a lot to think about.
Yeah, I guess that could really
Chris
make
Beveridge.
a good poem.
Plath did not kill her child. I don't think it was Plath, Aaron.
No, it was Assia Wevel. So the woman that Ted Hughes cheated on. The woman that Ted Hughes cheated on Plath with, Assia Wevel. She killed her child. With
Plath, when she committed suicide and sealed up all the doors, weren't her children there?
Yeah,
her children were there. That's pretty horrendous because she did it with gas from the oven. Yeah, Plath. What about William Carlos Williams? I was going to mention. He's more like concrete, like poem, like the red wheelbarrow, or what's that? The red wagon. Or
red
poem.
Wheelbarrow in the Rain.
Yeah. Or that plum poem in the icebox. I'm sorry I ate your plum. It tasted so delicious.
But he's an older generation. He's not. He would not be considered a contemporary poet at all.
No. That's what I mean. You know, you're saying contemporary poets are more personal, where William Carlos Williams had like more of a concrete. He was writing about something. Well, I take that back. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Too much coffee.
Aaron, Do you know of any current poets who'd be considered what I was saying more a concrete poet, not a personal poet?
I don't know. It's hard to say. I know that there are some poets where there's a poet called A.E. Starlings. I've read a collection by her, and she's quite good. She writes a lot about sort of Greek myths and stuff. So she's an American poet. She lives over in Greece, and so quite often when she's writing about Greek myths and figures from Greek mythology, it's kind of reflecting modern day Greece and sometimes even her own life as well. And so when the personal comes into it, I don't really mind so much because she's trying to relate to something kind of bigger and older and, something kind of, sort of mythical. So, yeah, I quite like A.E. Starlings.
A.E. Starlings. Alan's writing this all down. Hold on. We're going to get, I see a comment coming up that's going to talk to this a bit. Jim actually bought a book of poems yesterday. An unusual event. Gareth. Funny you say that, Greg, about the first person aspect of poetry. My new collection are all poems from different characters' point of view called Voices of the City.
Interesting.
Can I buy that off Amazon?
Cool, is that available on Amazon?
Yeah, or somewhere. It's quite a challenge. Point of view is always interesting. Making sure that you get the characters. You mean you're trying to put yourself into the character's point of view. So that Gareth. What is it called again? Voices of the City. I'll have to check that out. Because you're a booktuber, I can buy your book. Even though I know I'm going to fail the 500 book challenge fairly soon. But I feel like BookTube are my teachers and I am a student. Well, there's a lot of very smart people here on BookTube. I'm here. There are people who are like way into the college level, teaching graduate level courses on stuff that are like, wow, you're way above me.
I think one of the really cool things with BookTube that I've found is that, because I have loads of gaps in my reading and things I wish I knew more about, and you have all these people who know about those things, which is great. Then you also find that the stuff you read is the gap in other people's reading, and so they're so it's like a great reciprocal kind of thing. It's everyone's the teacher, everyone's the student. It's great.
It really is amazing because there is probably a channel for just about every type of book.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of them I'm not going to catch up with because there's a lot of, like, was this a fantasy channels? Well, I'll read an occasional fantasy, but it's not my normal thing that I'm ever going to read. But if you want to learn about fantasy, there are tons of channels. There are tons of channels about romance books, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Even though I don't really pay much attention to those.
When Steve was doing his bookshelf tour, he had like a few and he was just doing romance books. And I kind of watched them anyway. And they were, even though I don't read romance, I found it really entertaining. Just the different situations and even though it's so formulaic, the idea that they still have to bring something different and new to the table.
There's so many subgenres in romance. All kinds of subgenres like vampire romance,
it can get really weird.
And my in-person book group has a professional romance writer.
Hey, you mentioned that.
And she writes for like Harlequin Romance. I think Harlequin, or our line's very similar. You're one of the mass markets. And one of her books was made into a Hallmark Hall of Fame movie.
Wow.
And she
Impressive.
said the only thing that survived from her book to the movie was the character names.
Oh,
But they still
wow.
paid her. She says
Sure.
she still got the money. So, but I accidentally mentioned reading romance with books like Night of the Crabs by Guy N. Smith. Oh man, she was not happy. She was not happy that I was putting that trash in with romance.
Oh.
Because romance writers are serious writers, that they have
Hmm.
a very strict. You start with the woman who does not deserve love, and then she has a conflict, and by the end, she deserves love. And you have all this
I
character
see.
growth. And she was very adamant that she was writing a real book. She wasn't writing that trash like
How dare you?
Crabs.
How dare you?
How dare I?
I've read some Danielle Steele. She wrote a good, I think it's called Vietnam. So I like that book. The romance. So I've read some romance, but
Garrett,
yeah,
for all
my
things
ignorance
that-
is just through BookTube. You know, like I've never read Beowulf, so I'm going to try to read that. I think next month too. Pretty short book, I guess. I've never read Moby Dick.
You need to read Moby Dick, Alan.
I know.
haven't read it either.
That goes back to grad school. Like I'm a Joycean, and I had a friend who was just into Melville. Like I love Bartleby the Scrivener. I've
I
read
love that too.
You know? But something about Moby Dick, I just like it was a thing between him and I. I kind of didn't want to read it because he was so into it. But I'll read it someday. Like I haven't read War and Peace yet either. It's on my shelf.
So here's a question from Bad. Would you bury a pet like the book Would you bury a pet like the book Pet Cemetery? Would you bring back a pet if you could? LOL. Honestly, I don't know why even share this. Ignore it. Well, I didn't read the last. No, I would not bring a pet back. I mean, you love them, but they have a life cycle. And you just have to accept that our lives are longer than their lives. And that also brings like,
back to me in my
cloning. Like, would you clone a pet?
I would clone one.
No, you see, I wouldn't, because all you're getting is the genetic composition of your pet. You're not bringing whatever caused that pet to be what that pet is today. Like when I adopted my cats, in February, whatever, over a year ago, they were about a year old. So they had a whole year of growth and learning to bring them up to what made me want to take them home. And all you'd be getting is genetic material. And it'd be a completely different cat. And my idea is, if you need another cat, just go to the shelter, because there's another cat that's already alive and needs a home. And once you bring that cat home, you're going to love it just as much as your other one.
True. Yeah, I still dream my Wonder Dog Angus miniature schnauzer. He lived 17 years, and he just a wonder dog, tennis ball catching fool. And like Bad and I were talking about him the other day, and he comes to me in my dreams quite often. Then I wake up all sad.
So we have another thing. Contemporary poets are all me, 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 and all their mothers are dying of cancer.
Ew.
Yeah. Garrett
I
talking.
need mine. I need mine.
So Chris Beveridge, Medea killed her children. Is that their name?
Medea.
Medea. That's a Greek woman.
Yeah, classical reference there.
Classical reference.
Snake hair. Turn
Jim,
to the salt.
That's Medusa, not Medea.
Oh, okay.
I think
See
we're
how
all
I am?
speaking from BookTube. Yep.
Medusa, Medea.
Everyone's a teacher. Everyone's a Student. Oh, Bad is a sucker for romance books.
Yeah, she is. She likes a good romance.
Well, if I ever find some romances in a little free library, they might sneak over to here someday.
Calgon, take me away.
As a mood reader, I read what I feel. Bad. I just finished a romance book and the ending was stupid. LOL. But it was a read that's so good. I thought they all ended with the couple getting together at a romance. I don't know. I've read one romance in my life on a bet, and I think that was enough. Bet I would clone myself, but who would take care of you? Would you take care of your own self as a clone? Turn myself on, so yeah, I could clone myself. So Jim, Greg, Al, and Aaron are talking about romance. According to the nonprofit Romance Writers of America, 18% of a romance fiction are men. Well, Steve Donahue loves romances. Accurate. He has seen 1,000 countries, and they're all the same. Some men are crazy, some men are sane, but all men are ruled by a flag or a game. And he knows no one's got you if you don't sign your name. Is that a chatbot poem? Moby Dick's the greatest book ever written. Bet I was behaving it. Well, I think that goes back to Steve Donahue, that you really look at ages for the greatest books. That you can't compare the greatest book of the 19th century to the greatest book of the 20th century.
Yeah, and so American versus European,
and I might even break it down to decade. That each decade probably has its signature work or one really good one. It's just like right now I don't read a lot of contemporary books. So I don't know what the signature works of contemporary books are right now.
Yeah,
this might be a good book.
I have not read Don Quixote. Have you?
Wow, I'd love to read
it. Not yet. I might try and get to it at some point later on this year, but
maybe we can buddy read that. I'd love to reread that. It's a great novel, funny as hell.
Didn't you just read that with
laugh
someone?
Out loud funny.
Alan, didn't you just read that with someone?
Yeah, we had a group read. I think it was last year, might have been 2 years ago. But Roz was in there. I think Literary Carrie. That's the thing about like naming people. I always leave people out. It makes me feel bad. But it was a real success. We read it over 2 months. Yeah, that's a great book. So maybe we could read that later this year or next year.
I don't know, Alan. We're kind of booked up on reads, aren't we? We've got Shaban in April. Weren't we going to do something else?
Shadowram.
When are we doing Shanaram? July. Shanaram is July.
Yeah. Then Faulkner in August.
August.
June on the Range.
May we don't have anything, but I am reading. What am I reading in May?
Man Without Qualities.
Man Without Qualities. 1,700 pages.
Wow.
Just a little one.
I think it's going to be May and probably parts of June. And it'll be fighting with the Westerns for my attention. Have you ever read any Westerns, Aaron? Did you participate in June on the Range?
I might have when I was a kid. Like I can't even. There was a series that one of my grandparents they gave me loads of books from that series. I can't even remember what it was. But it was like like a series of westerns for kids from the 50s or something. I can't remember what it's called now though. But I think that's it. I haven't read any of the sort of more sort of serious. No, wait. I've read the Oxbow incident.
Yes,
I've read that.
well, that's a very serious Western.
Yeah, I took a like a class on what was it called? It was like an American literature class, and so it's kind of going through. It kind of went through lots of the Lost Generation stuff. It had Faulkner and Hemingway and stuff in it, and then it had the Oxbow incident and some Dashiell Hammett and stuff like that. And it's kind of looking at how, I suppose, how American kind of culture was coming into a being at the beginning of the 20th century, and just sort of the social identity of America in that period and how it was sort of shifting and changing around. So. Yeah, that was like an interesting contrast to Light in August, the Oxbow incident. There's a kind of interesting kind of compare and contrast there, I think.
Yeah, well, that's like one of the really more literary Westerns.
Yeah.
You know what is a great Western and a great movie? I would reread this book, Dances with Wolves. That's a great book.
Okay.
Page Turner. Really good.
Okay.
Better than the movie. And the guy who wrote the book, he was a dishwasher in Bisbee, Arizona. And just a dishwasher in a Chinese restaurant. I saw an interview with him. And he goes, do you know how many tiny cups you have to wash in a Chinese restaurant? But yeah, then he wrote that book, and Bisbee, Arizona is a small old copper mining town in Arizona, but nice place to visit, but really small.
Yeah.
But then, shot him into stardom. Only
Yeah,
takes one
I
book.
remember watching the movie when it first came out, but never reading the book. So,
Book is
Joseph,
really great.
why do we all hate romance stories when romance is actually so wonderful? I think the problem is that I find the romance in romance story very artificial and fake. That it's more of an idealized version of romances, and it really doesn't relate to real people. I know, like, my wife a lot of times like Jane Austen movies. And I know if she was watching a Jane Austen movie, I'm in trouble. She's going to be mad at me for at least 2 days. Because I'm a real guy, and I don't hold up to these standards that the romance. And again, it could be reversed, that if I were reading, let's just say, erotica, and I'm going to my wife, oh, you're not this scientist stripper type, and whatever.
Yeah.
Here's Jim.
What's the Shakespeare sonnet about? My lady is unlike a rose, or her breath is that 203, I think.
My lady's eyes are nothing like the sun.
Right.
Is that right?
Yes, exactly.
So, Jim, I read a Jane Austen in Jane Austen July. I enjoyed Bridget Jones for the comedy, The Time Traveler's Wife for the story and the sci-fi, but I wouldn't read a pure contemporary romance. Jim, I agree with you, but maybe just once in your life. I've done one, and I figure it's like, okay, just do one to say that you've done it, and say.
I quite liked. Well, I read the Time Traveler's Wife, and I think that the main thing I took away was just all these great music references. Other than that, I didn't really take much away from it.
Bad. I enjoy a good.
Like the sun. Coral is far more red than her lips red. I love that poem.
Bet I enjoy a good romance, Joseph. Horror romance too. Taboo, disturbing, and other questionable reads.
Mm.
Bet
Yeah,
I'm going to start reading the books from the author Nicholas Sparks. He never sparked an interest in me.
Not even the Notebook?
Joseph again. That's interesting. I had a writing course recently. Our instructor was also a romance and horror ghost writer. These people are everywhere.
Mm. Well, it sells, so
It does. Well, I know that it's true. The romance writer I know says romance is the best-selling category of book,
yeah.
bar none. And at least her claim is that all these romances help pay for all these literary books that don't sell very well.
Yeah.
So I guess we do owe ourselves to thank the romance community for giving us our literary fiction that no one buys. Dusty Book Sniffers. Good morning, everyone. Hello,
morning.
Dusty. Oh, wait a
Hey,
second.
Aaron, those guitars, do you have like a Martin or a Gibson by any chance?
Oh,
No.
wait a second. Dusty,
Me neither.
almost 5 a.m. I guess she's in Australia or someplace like that.
5. Yeah, must be. Mm.
Yeah, well, thanks. I like your channel. I forget her name, but is it Courtney, I think?
I'm terrible with names.
Mm.
Well, we forgot your name, Dusty. Is it Courtney? I'm a recent subscriber to her channel.
That is just saying hi, Dusty. So let's just call her Dusty for the moment. Dancing with Wolves is a great one, Alan.
Yeah, I really love that novel.
Someone's quoting Pink Floyd. The lunatic is in the hall. The lunatics are in my hall. The paper holds their folded faces to the floor, and every day the paper boy brings more.
Yeah, I think the title of that song is Eclipse.
Brain Damage Eclipse, or is it Eclipse Brain
Oh,
Damage?
Brain Damage.
It's the song that just flows into the other one without any real break.
Mm.
Yep. Brain Damage. I resemble that remark.
More Pink Floyd. You lock the door and throw away the key. There's someone in my head, but it's not me.
I like the album Animals.
That's my favorite.
Mm.
That is my favorite Pink. I love the song Dogs.
Oh, I like Pigs.
You like Pigs?
Aha, charade, you are. I have a interesting story from Kent State undergraduate. Had an interesting weekend. We dropped acid, and me and a friend, we left the party and just walked around campus. And we walked into a building. It was a weekend, and it was night. And we thought we spent like about 5 minutes in there. We got like a cup of coffee out of the machine, and then we turned around, and then it was light out. We had spent like hours in this building. And then my parents and sister and grandmother visited me that day, and I'm tripping balls at the restaurant, eating spaghetti, and my spaghetti's moving around. And my dad and grandma goes, "Boy, that was one of the nicest visits we ever had." God, that was back in the 80s. I haven't done acid since 1986. But anyway.
Bad agrees with you, Alan. Oh, Alan knows. Yes, The Notebook. Great job, Alan.
Why, thanks.
And we're back to Pink Floyd. And if the cloud bursts thunder in your ear, you shout and no one seems to hear. If the band starts playing different tunes, they'll see you on the dark side of the moon.
Well, what are you guys doing the rest of the day on this fabulous Monday? Or Aaron's probably going to have dinner and go to bed.
You have to dinner, right?
Yeah, probably dinner at some point. Then Yeah. Bit of reading and then bed, probably. Yeah.
Well, my soap opera comes on in an hour. See, I say I don't like romance, but then I've been watching General Hospital for 40 years.
Dusty, my name is Nicole. Well, hello,
Oh,
Nicole.
Nicole.
I will try to remember.
Yeah, me too. I'll remember that. I like that name, Nicole. We have a couple friends. Same name.
Yep, here's Gareth saying Dusty Book Sniffers, amazing channel name. Chris Beveridge, Love Stinks, the Jay Giles Band.
I know. Boy, that's an old one. I saw them, Peter Wolf, and Magic Dick, the harmonica player. He's great.
Floyd, good subject for a chat. Love hurts but doesn't stink. I'd rather love you than hurt you than have you never have loved you at all. Dogs is great. The Wall, in my opinion, a masterpiece of rock writing production. Yeah,
agreed.
I'm
really numb.
There's the 3 albums. I do like Dark Side of the Moon. I do like The Wall. I do love Animals.
I just like Animals because of that story, sentimental favorite.
There's some pre David Gilmour, Pink Floyd, that I also like.
Yeah, I have a bunch of albums in boxes in Phoenix too, but I have old Pink Floyd, like A Nice Pair, and then that album Metal. Before they got, I think even Sid Barnett is on that.
No, that doesn't say Sid Barnett, the original. I have Ungamong something, say Ungamantha or something similar like that.
Well,
and
one's
they have
Metal, like MEDDLE. One's MEDDLE, Metal. The other's A Nice Pair. It has a 2 pairs on it. But yeah, Pink Floyd's. Roger Waters was in Portland last year, and a friend of mine went to see it and said it was a great show. It gets kind of political.
He does get political, and he gets in trouble for his politics.
But he's very smart, very knowledgeable, you know.
But he came out last year, saying that Russia had the right to invade Ukraine.
Yeah, I remember that.
And that, I mean, I understand a lot. Like the album Animals is very political. There's a lot of subtle policies in that album. But I listened to him talk about his justification for Russia invading Ukraine, and I just didn't buy it at all.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for Ukraine. I really think somebody should assassinate Putin and Kim Jong-il's son too in Korea. I mean, that shit scares me.
Woe unto the person who fails to assassinate Putin, or the country that succeeds, because he could really stir the pot in ways that could overflow.
Take them out.
What? Pink Floyd is the best. I painted a screaming man in a music video, The Wall.
Oh, yeah, you do.
A perfect library light for some acid. Ooh, Jim, I saw Pink Floyd in Sydney, Australia back in 1988. That would have been fantastic. Totally fantastic. Joseph, Saucer Full of Secrets is my favorite Pink Floyd. Way back in their space rock. Yeah, I have some. It's a double album with the one I was talking about that I cannot remember the full name. Gareth, I will be reading more Bradbury for my Bradbury challenge tonight.
Coolio.
Dusty, thanks. Book songs and other magic. Chris, what do you get when you fall in love and you only get the pain and sorrow for at least until tomorrow? I never
Burt
fall in
Bacharach
love with it.
record.
I don't recognize that one.
Burt Bacharach. What do you get when you do?
Oh. Yes, Nicole is in Australia.
I can beat everybody in music trivia.
I bet you
Maybe except
can.
Garrett.
Young Lust is a favorite for Bad is Rad. Sid Barrett was the only first 2 albums. Metal was with Gilmore.
Yeah.
Here it is. Joseph, save me. Maguma is a great live album back in their old space rock days. The studio cuts in on that album though, and they're really, really, really bad. Yeah, there's one song that I love. Careful with that axe, Eugene.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Wow, you guys are taking me back to the 80s.
I think that was the 70s for.
Oh well, I mean, I heard it in the 80s, but before
Yeah.
Aaron was born. Boy, to be young again.
Not that bad.
I had fun in my 20s, man. I'll tell you that.
Oh, wait a second. I missed one. Jim, Hawkwind was my go-to for space rock. I saw them about 10 times.
Wow.
Hawkwind.
Aaron, do you even know these old?
I've heard Hawkwind. Like I don't know much about them. I couldn't name a song, but I've heard Hawkwind. Yeah.
I listened to some of their albums. I had some. My brother had their albums on vinyl, and I recorded them over to cassette tape, and I listened to them when I was going back into university, and they were just right for that age.
Yeah.
When I was that age. The author Michael Moorcock worked a lot with them and wrote some of their songs.
Oh, cool.
Because Hawkwind actually comes from one of his characters. The name of one of his characters. I believe that's how they got their name. I'm sure Joseph can correct me if I'm wrong.
I didn't know you had a brother, Greg.
I do.
Younger or older?
Older.
Oh, cool.
Bad.
Where
Aaron.
does he live?
He lives in Maryland.
Oh.
Aaron, do you listen to music for your poetry writing?
No, not normally. So sometimes I listen to if it's like instrumental music, I might. But if it's anything with lyrics, I'll just get distracted. So yeah, generally I just write in silence.
Yeah. Joseph Hawkwind. Wow, I have not listened to that band in ages. Chris, forward, he cried from the rear to the front. The general start. Oh, we're back to Pink Floyd. Gareth, I played at a festival where Hawkwind was playing, and they did a great set. Gong played too. Cool. Okay, Gong is not ringing any bells.
It's over my head. I've never heard of them.
Joseph, Careful with That Axe, Eugene is performed live along with, Astronomy, Donome. That's what I was thinking about. Great songs. It's a great live album. Set the Controls for the Heart of the Sun. Yeah, it's another one that's really good from that album. Jim, Lemony from Motorhead came from Hawkwind. They were associated with Michael Moorcock and his group Deep Fix.
Okay, I know Lemmy, of course. I didn't know that.
I did not know he went over to Motorhead. Joseph, Michael Moorcock also wrote a lot of stuff for Blue Oyster Cult. Yes, he did. Dusty, nothing like vinyl. I have introduced my teenagers to vinyl, and they love the sound of it. My 18-year-old has taken to it and loves old school music from the 70s and 80s.
Cool.
Okay.
Nice.
I have to admit that I never got into vinyl. Just I got into CDs later in life, and then I transferred them over to digital and just got rid of my CDs.
Yeah, I
I
still got
have
some.
something like 200 albums.
You still have some music CDs?
Yeah, I've still that case there is
Okay, I can see that.
there. Yeah, I built up a collection. I don't really use them that much anymore. Every now and then, if I'm cleaning my house or something, but yeah, that doesn't happen that often.
At this point, you put in your player and just listen to it that way. Gareth, Gong's music is even crazier than Hawkwind. Similar style, but completely mad.
Cool.
Now I'm going to have to look them up and see if they're on Amazon Prime so I can listen to them. Bad. I own a record player. Fire. I'd rather stay with the past vibes. David Allen's Gong. David. Jim's books, readings, indeed. You're talking about something that's just over my head.
I know.
Gonna have to start a BookTube music trivia night. I like it.
Yeah, I used to see Here and Now Magic Mushroom Band.
I can beat everybody in Beatles trivia. Tell you that.
Chris, Putin has a no reverse gear. He just did not expect what he got in the Ukraine.
No.
I know he wanted to be in and out in like 7 days. And Gong is great. Good grief. 70s were the glory years of music. I can understand that one. I mean, I just don't like modern music. Just does not do much for me. I wonder how much of that is that. How do I? Gareth would probably know because he's actually a musician. But I get the feeling that a lot of the music that you hear now is very commercialized, and you don't get the real playing. I've heard some criticism that a lot of musicians that are popular now could not play live with real instruments.
Yeah, that's probably.
I don't know how true that is.
Probably quite fair. And I think even like the last 10 years or so, even the stuff that's in the rock charts isn't really like rock music. It
isn't.
No, I mean it at least for like someone who's really into the sort of like 70s and 80s stuff. It's sort of pop music with maybe a bit of aggression to it, maybe. But yeah.
Like let's say you were to take out some very early rock musicians like who like Elvis Presley or Little Richard, and you play them against the 60s, the Beatles, a little similar there.
Yeah.
Maybe. But then you get into like Pink Floyd in the 60s, and all of a sudden you go back to the Elvis. They don't sound like the same genre of music at all.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And now you compare those to what's coming out now, and it's like they're called the same.
Yeah.
Maybe there are like subgenres, like in science fiction, you have all these different types of genres that someone who's actually knowledgeable could label out what each type of genre of rock music is.
Yeah.
Like the ones they were talking about, Gong. How did they describe? I'm gonna go back up to the
like space rock or something like that.
Space rock, yeah. I mean, okay.
Yeah, no idea.
I don't think they do space rock anymore.
No.
Yeah, Gareth, I love CDs. It's why I did the 100 album challenge. Since moving to Georgia, I've only seen Deep Purple here. We're a little worried about Comrade Putin here.
Yeah.
Well, is Georgia part of NATO? I don't know. That's a question for Jim. Because if Georgia is part of NATO, I don't think Putin is going to touch it. But if Jim is worried, maybe that tells me that Georgia isn't part of NATO.
Yeah, that's serious stuff.
Oh, Joseph, I had thousands of LPs back in the day, got rid of all except about 5, and now just collect CDs.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you, Joe.
The thing is, like with collecting music, is like you need space for your CDs, which is why digital music works really well, is that you don't need any space for them.
I've not heard of Professor Rock, Nicole.
Hold on. Do you ever watch Professor Rock? I have seen some of his videos. I don't really have the patience to get through the whole video usually, but he does some really good history of some rock music.
Maybe I just don't know the name, because I listen to I use YouTube for my music on, like, if I'm not listening to an audiobook when I'm on the train or bus. So I listen to a lot of interviews and that.
Some of those old records are worth money. Yes, they are.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, here's Gareth. Greg, that's a myth. There's tons of great musicians out there. People are only commenting about sharp music. Okay. I can understand that, because I said Gareth is actually a professional, or I'm not professional. He plays live music.
Yeah, he gets paid, so he's
paid. I guess that's professional. Yeah, I mean, also a school teacher. I know he has students, so I'm some teacher.
No, definitely for like any modern music that I listen to, it's generally pretty, like, no one will have heard of it. It's pretty obscure stuff generally. But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you name some? I mean, what would you name as?
So I found myself listening to, there's like a lot of sort of modern jazz music that I quite like. So I think I've mentioned them a couple of times in videos, actually. There's an Icelandic jazz rock band called ADHD. They're really pretty good. And it's a lot of it is pretty Scandi sort of stuff as well. I think he's Norwegian. A jazz guitarist called Jacob Bro, or Bro. I don't know how you say it. It's spelled like bro. And it's just, it's very, I don't know how to describe it. It's kind of ambient, but it's also jazz. It's quite cool, but it's not exactly commercial.
Gareth, innovation is still alive and kicking now, even after 100 years of popular music. Well, Gareth, you just mentioned one. I mean, I've never heard of them, but obviously people are listening. Jim, there is good music today. It's difficult to find. A lot of pop bands in the past couldn't play their music live too. Who's the one? Milli Vanilli. Does anyone remember Milli Vanilli?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay. Aaron, you're looking at me like I'm saying something something totally foreign.
It sounds like an ice cream flavor to me.
Milli Vanilli was two men who were like a singing group, pop group. They were really popular for a while, top of the charts. And then they got caught in a live show lip syncing.
Oh. No.
And not only lip syncing, is that they did not do their original vocals either. They had professional backup singers do their whole lyrics for them. They couldn't, I don't think they could sing a note. Or how much they could sing, I'm not positive, but they got called out for being total fakes.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember that.
Gareth might remember that. Gareth, Jim's books, reading this stuff, exactly. Most commercial stuff was simple, and that's what made it commercial. Rock has evolved and all those influences are heard now. Loads of great new music being made. It ain't on the radio or the charts or the Grammys, though. Incredible string band.
Thanks, man.
Georgia can't join NATO.
Oh.
Oh, maybe that was part of when they split up from the Soviet Union. They probably signed a pact saying they couldn't join NATO. Maybe. Jim, I don't know Georgian history. Actually, no, Georgia is in a difficult position after breaking free from Russia. But also, you can write off the popular stuff and not notice how interesting Harry Styles' solo stuff is.
That's
His song
true.
"Hooey" is as good as anything classic. All
I
right.
like Ed Sheeran. I like him a lot. Ever since I saw Billy Strings in concert, I've been really enjoying his music. He's a great guitarist, Aaron. You know
Cool.
Billy Strings?
No.
I'll send you a couple songs
Oh, yeah.
on Boxer.
Cool.
Well, here's Jem filling us in. 21% of Georgia is controlled by Moscow, not Tbilisi.
Whoa.
I didn't know that.
No, me neither, Jim.
Yeah, that would worry me a little.
Yeah.
Professor of Rock is so knowledgeable. Alan, check out the podcast History of Rock and 500 Songs. Incredible. If you think you know about the Beatles, check out his 4-hour episode, All You Need Is Love.
Okay, I definitely will.
It's a tour de force. Okay. There are thousands of rock bands that are making challenging and forward-thinking rock music, but it ain't like it used to happen. It's the streaming services that you find it rather than the TV and the radio. Aaron, I remember you talking about them in the song tag.
Oh, yeah. ADHD, yeah.
That's why it sounded vaguely familiar. I was trying to remember where I heard something about that.
I should do a video about all the Beatles books I've read. You know, the biographies, and then I've read quite a few Beatles related books. Gareth gave me an idea.
If you stop and think about it, you won't believe it's true, but all the love you've been given has been meant for you. Quote from something. I still don't stream music. I rely on some great music podcasts and a surfing Bandcamp for discovering new music.
Cool.
I have to admit that I don't have any streaming service either. I have my old CDs that I recorded to my digital file, and that's about all I ever listened to. Yes.
Yeah, I tend to listen to the same old stuff. But I also like the new music by, what's his name? I'll think of it in a second. Justin Bieber. Believe that? I like that song, Peaches.
I can live without that.
Yeah.
I like their song, Peaches.
Jim, Milli Vanilli were caught lip syncing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was where
they were busted.
Frank, here's some details. Gareth, I knew he would know this. Frank Farron sang the Milli Vanilli parts, but he did that before with Bonnie M. The guy wasn't the voice of the guy.
I think that's Boney M.
Boney M.
No, I don't know.
Could be.
Blind Melon,
you guys.
Boney
Girl,
M.
I'm going to miss you. Milli Vanilli won a Grammy for Best New Band. They could not sing, I'm guessing, but dang, they were good looking at least. I guess they were just dancing to the tune. That's kind of what I remember. Wow. That will always be my breakup song with any guy. I'm going to miss you. I spoke about Randy Newman to my students in his song "I Miss You," which he wrote for his ex-wife. Beautiful song. Bad. My
Oh, I
breakup
love
song
Randy
is
Newman.
"Hit the Road, Jack, and Don't You Come Back No More."
Hit the road, Jack.
Gareth, Greg, they're college music students, just to clarify from earlier. Okay. Aha.
Yeah,
Okay.
Randy Newman. I love that song "Louisiana" about the floods in the 20s in Louisiana, and then Hurricane. What was it? Ike that went through New Orleans. NOLA. I've got two friends in New Orleans. One from high school, another harmonica player I know. New Orleans. I need to go visit there again.
I've only been to New Orleans once, and it was a pretty interesting town.
Yeah, very, really cool.
Oh, I'm not even going to try to pronounce these Georgian names correctly because I'm just going to butcher them. They are recognized as part of Georgia by the UN, but they're controlled by Moscow, like the Crimea and the Transnistria. Yeah, well, hopefully people will eventually give Putin the boot. Georgia would like to join NATO and EU, but won't be able to until Tbilisi controls the entire country. Hey, Justin kicks ass. That song, Sorry. I Want You More Than Your Body. Chris, in the evening, when the sun is sinking low, everyone is with the one they love. Keep walking around the town, searching and all around looking for my street corner girl.
Van Morrison?
I don't know. Louisiana is a great song. Al, Randy Newman, such a great songwriter. The Devil Went to Georgia. Is that the one where he plays the fiddle?
Yeah.
Aaron's a big Van Morrison fan.
No, there's a song where the devil goes to Georgia and has a fiddling contest with someone.
Yeah, it's Charlie Daniels.
Okay.
Yeah. But
I'm not completely ignorant all the time. Okay, hey, Aaron, how are you doing there?
I'm doing good.
Okay.
Get tired. We've been going 2.5 hours.
We've been going about two and a half hours, so maybe it's time for Aaron to go eat dinner. Or
my soap opera's coming out.
All right. So let's have one last round of people to throw in some comments and call it a night.
Yeah.
I love these quotes from lyrics. I did a top 10 lyrics video. Hard to pick a top 10, though.
Yeah, it is. Very hard.
Okay. Hold on. My got covered. Georgia on my mind from Jim.
Yeah, where's my harmonic at?
Love it. Thanks, guys. Thing is, we started talking about music that extended it. Yeah, we just got on this music kick here.
It's fun.
Bad is saying goodbye. Joseph, I'm going to have to check out that video. I have my opinions. I would love to hear yours. If you could read my mind, what a tale my thoughts would tell. What a tale my thoughts would tell. Okay.
Thanks,
all
Aaron,
right.
for turning me on to this new poetry and that. I'm going to check out the guy's prose poems.
Yeah, I got a something of the night city. Voices of the City.
Oh, yeah.
I got to check that out. Okay. Well, let's call it an evening because it's 2.5 hours and I need to stretch my legs.
Yeah, me too. Voices of the
Good
City
night,
is
everyone. Thanks for everyone who joined.
Thanks, Aaron.
See you all
Thanks for all
later.
your comments, guys.
Thank you.